Let's turn to the book of Judges. Judges chapter 20 first before I go to 19. Judges chapter 20. Something just kind of hit in my spirit. Unusual story. Probably the most unusual story in the Bible. It is, if many of you haven't read Judges 20 before, this is one of the most unusual occurrences in the Bible. It is the most difficult occurrence that we scholars had a tremendous time trying to deal with why it happened, because it doesn't fit any pattern. Let's look at verse 18. We're going to look at verse 18 through 26, because I want to deal with the issue here, because I want us to understand something, and I'm going to give you right away what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the missing ingredient. In fact, I should put an S on that, because there's several ingredients that are missing here. And you know, when you're cooking, you got to put the right ingredients together. If you don't get the right ingredients, then it won't come out right. Well, and we like formulas, because everything we do is a formula. In terms of salvation, we do ABC: ask, believe, confess. It becomes a formula. Well, if you don't get the formula right, you ask God, you got to believe what He said, and you got to confess that that what He said is true. And so if you don't get the formula right, you can't get what God is doing for you right and get the end. Well, Judges is, let me just give you a background of the book. Judges is not about judging. The book deals with a time when Israel was without a leader. And the whole book of Judges, all of the chapters in Judges, in fact, this particular chapter in chapter 20 is not in chronological order, which means that it's not in order in which it was written or that it occurred, but it was a time. There are several phrases that are key throughout the book of Judges. The key verse in Judges is that every man did what was right in his own eye. So it's a time when everybody did what they wanted to do, the way they wanted to do it. And of course, what happened with that is that God always sent destruction or sent the judgment because people were doing what they wanted to do. And then they cried out, and He would send a deliverer. Yeah. So then Judges is about the time that God really dealt with His people in what we call crisis leadership. In other words, they didn't get a leader until they had a crisis. Wow. They had a crisis because they were disobedient. But they didn't get a leader until they had a crisis, because they were not submitted enough to have a leader when they were in prosperity. Now let me say it again. They didn't get a leader until they had a crisis. But the key to the book is that everybody did what was right in their own eyes. And God, in the whole book of Judges, all of the judges that you see there, one of the most famous, of course, is Gideon and Deborah and others that you might remember, but the whole key to the book of Judges is the fact that He would raise up these crisis leaders who would then fight a battle and win the war, and then the people would go right back in the same mess. And then they would cry out, and God would send deliverance. Well, in the story we're going to look at today, we don't have a judge. That's why it's an unusual story. The story doesn't relate to having a judge. It just relates to an incident. And we're going to cover that. Start reading at verse 18.
And the children of Israel arose and went up to the house of God and asked counsel of God and said, which of us shall go up first to the battle against the children of Benjamin?
Now, they're getting ready to fight against Benjamin, which just becomes a civil war, because Benjamin was one of the tribes of Israel. Benjamin was the smaller tribe, actually became the tribe of Judah, but what we're seeing here is the beginning of a civil war. A civil war is getting ready to happen, which means they had an internal war. They were fighting their own brothers. But I'm going to tell you about the incident in a minute, but there was something that happened. They're getting ready to take a cause and go up and fight their own brothers. All right, read on.
Which of us shall go up first to the battle against the children of Benjamin?
Now watch. They inquired of God, and they wanted to know. See, here, they're getting ready to go to battle. They wanted to make sure that they were going out to battle correctly. So they inquired of God, which of us shall go up first? Which one of the other tribes shall lead the charge to go up and fight Benjamin? Because Benjamin's in the wrong. Read on.
And the Lord said, Judah shall go up first.
Wow. Now, when you send Judah first, which becomes interesting to the whole contents of the text where I'm reading now, because in Judges chapter 1, you got to remember when they went out, the first thing that happened when they go in to fight the territory after Joshua died is that they go out to battle. In Judges chapter 1, it says, who shall go up? They sent Judah first, and of course they won the battle. Because when you send the praises out, you should always win the battle when praise is in the front. Don't you agree? What happened to them?
And the children of Israel rose up in the morning and encamped against Gibeah. And the men of Israel went out to battle against Benjamin.
And what happened?
And the men of Israel put themselves in array to fight against them at Gibeah. And the children of Benjamin came forth out of Gibeah and destroyed down to the ground of the Israelites that day 22,000 men.
That day that they sent Judah first, they lost 22,000 men against Benjamin. Yet, they sent the praises out. Day one was not a victory. Why are you so quiet? Read on. What happened the second day?
And the people, the men of Israel, encouraged themselves and set their battle again in array.
Wait a minute. Let me stop there for a minute. They encouraged because whenever you have a defeat, you don't have to wait for nobody else to pat you on your back. You need to encourage yourself. Some of us don't know how to encourage ourselves. We wait for the accolades to come from other people, but you got to learn how to encourage yourself. Because sometimes ain't nobody else going to encourage you but you. And if you don't learn how to encourage yourself, you're going to miss the whole course of what God has in the battle for you. You got to learn to encourage yourself. So they encourage themselves. They go back to God again. Remember, keep in mind that God told them to go up. God told them to send Judah. And the text records that they lost 22,000 men, which means that they were defeated. Whenever the Bible records a loss instead of a victory, it didn't record the victory, so they must have lost the battle the first day because it records how many they lost. What happened?
And the people, the men of Israel, encouraged themselves and set their battle again in array in the place where they put themselves in array the first day. And the children of Israel went up and wept before the Lord until even, and asked counsel of the Lord, saying, Shall I go up again to battle against the children of Benjamin, my brother?
Now, we messed up the first day. I don't understand. God told us to go up. We took Judah up. Judah is the praises. We lost 22,000 men. Let's ask God again, what shall God say we do? And God told them again, go up. Read on.
And the Lord said, Go up against him. And the children of Israel came near against the children of Benjamin the second day. And Benjamin went forth against them out of Gibeah the second day, and destroyed down to the ground of the children of Israel again 18,000 men.
Wow.
All these drew the sword.
Wow. The second day, they lost 18,000. The first day, how many did they lose?
22.
How many is 22 and 18?
40.
They lost how many?
40,000.
Read verse 17.
And the men of Israel, beside Benjamin, were numbered 400,000 men.
How many men did they have?
400,000.
How many men did they lose?
40.
What did they lose? A tithe. They lost 10% of their fighting force. But something's wrong. They got a word from God. They sent the right tribe force. But for 2 days, after hearing from what God said, they lost the battle. Do I have your attention? First of all, let me tell you what God didn't say in those verses that we read. He never said that he was going with them. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you ask God. I don't care what kind of word you get from God. Don't you ever go anywhere unless God said, I'm going with you. God never told them, I'm going with you. They said, shall we go up? God said, go ahead. Shall we go up again? Go ahead. I never said I was going. How can you win if God's not going? Interesting story, ain't it? It has an interesting background, too. Let me tell you the background before I finish. No, let me give you the points. Let me give you the points before I give you the background, because I want you to understand, because there's some object lessons, very close object lessons, and that I want to give you up front before we get in the background. First object answer, question or principle I want to give you is that an answer from the Lord does not always guarantee success. An answer from the Lord does not always guarantee success. Because let's face it, God spoke. The way God spoke to them in that time was to take two stones, the Urim and the Thummim. You take these two stones, you rub them together, and they would lighten up. And wherever the bright light would lighten up, that meant that God was giving an answer, yes or no. So they got an answer from God through the process. But an answer from God, and this is an unusual message, because this is an unusual text, it's an unusual story. No other example of a story like this in all of the Bible. When anybody has inquired of God and got an answer from God and didn't win the victory. But keep in mind what I said in the beginning. Everybody did what was right in their own eye. So first of all, a word from the Lord does not guarantee success. Number two, be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. That's principle number two. Principle number three is this. Don't forget protocol even when justice is the issue. I told you they was missing something. They inquired of the Lord. The second day, they gave him a sacrifice. They wept, which meant that they repented and they cried before the Lord. But they still forgot something. They was missing a couple pieces. I told you the first ingredient that they missed. First of all, God never said he was going with them. And I'll take you in the story and show you in a minute. But God never said he was going with them in that particular issue. Number four. Did you get the three? I'm on number four. Ain't nobody saying no. I'm on number four? Oh, okay. Don't ever assume you know God better than God. Just because you know what God usually says in the past don't mean that you can use it in the present. Just because he sent Judah the last time don't mean that Judah's going to win this time. So don't ever assume you know God better than God. And the last one, don't ever base your present conditions on past blessings. And we do that sometimes. Man, we had a hot time last Sunday. Let's duplicate it this Sunday. No, God got something else he wants to do today, but you still want to do what he did last Sunday because you still want to get back in the past. Read that next verse. What happened? That was the second day. Get to the third day. Read verse 26.
Then all the children of Israel and all the people went up and came unto the house of God and wept and sat there before the Lord and fasted that day until evening and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord.
Wait a minute. The first 2 days, they never brought God an offering. They asked God what to do, but they never brought him an offering. How are you going to come and inquire from God and ask him something and you never brought him an offering? The third day, they get it right. They said, man, we got to really get this thing right. They asked and bring an offering. The reason why they knew they messed up is the type of offering they brought. What does it say?
And the children of Israel inquired of the Lord. For the ark of the covenant of God was there in those days. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, stood before it in those days, saying, Shall I yet again go out to battle against the children of Benjamin, my brother?
Here's the third ingredient they got wrong. They never had a priest stand before them. A priest that was in succession. Because Phinehas, that's how you pronounce his name, Phinehas is the grandson of Aaron. And because he's the grandson of Aaron, he's in succession to offer the burnt offering. Now, you first of all, you miss asking God before you gave the offering. God never told you he was going. He just told you to go. Then thirdly, you forgot to get a priest, someone who was equipped to bring the offering. Uh-oh. A lot of people like to do stuff without having a leader. Because remember, they leaders now. Now look what God said after they get all those ingredients right. Read on. What is
And the Lord said, go up, for tomorrow I will deliver them into thine hand.
What did he say? He said, go up for what?
Tomorrow I will deliver them into thine hand.
He never said that day one. He never said that day two. He never said it till they got the offering right and they put a priest up. Then he said, tomorrow I'm going to deliver them in your hand.